Grand Rising. It's another great morning for us to experience Pandemic Farms. Pandemic standing for producing agricultural nourishment, developing economies, making independent communities. This is part two. And today we're going to introduce you to some food growing right in your own backyard. Now, what you may not realize is that the plants that you see every spring springing up in your yard are, in fact, edible food plants. So, today we're going to introduce you to a tasty meal made by some plants that you may not realize are actually delicious if you season them right. This is called burdock, and we talked about this last week. And as you can see, these are large leaves that actually can look a little bit like collard greens. They grow without any assistance very widely in North America. And one of the things that we've discovered is that there are many people who are aware of their uses, but we urban growers tend to see these as pesty plants that we need to remove so we can have our nice green lawns. And if you want to be schooled in how the value of your property can increase, by understanding what these plants are that grow freely in your yard. We call them native plants because they were there when you got there. They belong there and they're benefiting the property in ways that you don't realize. So today we're going to share with you a wonderful recipe, but first we want to take a look at this plant and help you to recognize it. We invite you to download an app on your phone called Picture This. And it's something you can download for absolutely free. And what you'll see is a picture of a little camera. And basically, what you'll do with that camera is point it at a plant and it will scan the plant and it will give you the means to find out its name, and you can find out what some of the uses are. Now, this plant, burdock, is often growing wild in vacant lots. It's one of those plants that actually helps to break up soil, which helps the earthworms do their job. But also, for those who are not aware, burdock is used widely, its roots are used medicinally. And you can go to a health food store and ask for burdock root, and you'll see you're going to pay a pretty penny for these plants. But if you recognize them using your phone app, Picture This, then you'll see that you can actually dig them up and use them as food, something we encourage you to do. So we want you to take a look at how they're made because the leaves grow very large and they spread and they're very firmly rooted in the ground.
So, of course, if you take a look at the leaf, you can see the shape of them. And these have been growing since the beginning of the season. And you can see that it doesn't take a whole lot of any particular nurturing for these plants to grow and flourish. And this is why we want you to be able to download the app, Picture This, so that you can see how it works and you can do some research. This is a plant you're going to see growing in a lot of vacant lots. But today, we want to introduce you to a recipe. And if you're willing to try some things, you can discover how delicious this is. Of course, there's the burdock root tea, which, if you go online, you're going to see that that is very popular. And if you go online, you'll also see that it is something that a lot of people use as a medicinal treatment. So if you are able to recognize this leaf in your yard, and we want you to definitely uh, make the effort to get to your yard, or even a yard that belongs to a friend or neighbor, and take a look at these leaves so that you recognize them when they pop up. And they do grow very fast. They grow very fast. So the thing, and there's a saying, someone grows like a weed. And the things that we call weeds are things that grow even if you do absolutely nothing. They grow. That's the benefit of knowing how to recognize what's growing in your yard. And we're going to share a little bit about how you can discover what to do with plants such as burdock when you discover them. As we know, you can find out anything about anything if you simple ask Google. But what you want to do when you go to your yard and you discover plants that you may not recognize, go to the app that we just told you about, Picture This. And once you've downloaded it and pointed your camera at that particular plant, it's going to give you it's going to give you the scientific name, and it's going to give you where it grows. And from there, you want to go to Google and ask, what is this plant used for? And then you want to ask, is this medicinal? You want to ask, is it edible? And this will give you a chance to learn more about what the uses are that are already known.
So sometimes what you find out is that people are already using something that you didn't realize was medicinal. And they're using something that you didn't realize costs money if you have to go to the store. So we want to share with you a recipe, and we want to give you an opportunity to try this at home. Because, of course, if you find this in your yard, you've really got a gold mine. So before you start spraying your yard with pesticides, we want to first share with you some possibilities of how you can use this plant. And if you really have a desire to do something creative, then you'll discover that there are a lot of plants in your own backyard that really are beneficial. So let's take a look at some of the things that you can do once you decide that you're going to consume your burdock plant. First, you want to wash the leaves thoroughly. You're going to soak them for a while because you want to make sure they're free from any bits of soil. Plus, you might have unseen droppings from other animals. You generally don't want to pick leaves where you can see that, or if you do, you want to not have that soaking in your water. So you want to remove that from your leaves. But even then, you want to make sure you soak them thoroughly before cooking them in the pot. And you're going to let them soak for a while to make sure that they're nice and clean and fresh. And then you're going to go through the process of chopping them up before you put them in the pot. Yes, you want to chop them up and get them prepared. So here you are. For this burdock leaf recipe of carduni, we're going to combine some crushed crackers and chopped onion along with whipped up eggs and grated cheese. And we're going to have some seasoning. We've got salt and garlic powder and pepper. And I like to also use paprika for extra taste. So we'll chop up our onion, whip up these eggs, add the crushed crackers for some consistency, and we'll combine our cooked burdock leaves, all chopped up finely, and boil twice to get rid of any bitterness, and we'll make patties. Delicious burdock leaf carduni. Yes. So what you want to do is make sure that after you've got your leaves chopped up and you're all ready to include them in your recipe, then we'll take you to the next step. And that is getting them prepared to mix up with the other ingredients.
Here we have our burdock leaves, and we're going to chop them up finely. Let's cut off the stem. I don't want that part. But we're going to chop these up to go into a pot. Now, these are pretty big leaves. So we have a lot of chopping to do, and you want to make sure you got the right kind of knife, because these are going to go into the pot to make our carduni. But the important thing is that we chop them up finely, because this is a lot of leaf, and we want this to be in small pieces, so when we mix it up with our eggs and onions and cheese and crushed crackers, we want to make sure that it all melds together, and it's easy to chew when we make it into a patty. So this is going to be quite an added taste, and definitely I'm going to put this in the pot and boil them twice. Now we soak them for several hours in water, and even add a little salt to the water. That kind of adds a little bit of, I guess, cleansing to the leaves. Add a little salt to the water, but then we're going to make sure they're chopped up as fine as possible before we put them in the pot. And of course, when you boil things, then the bulk of it seems to shrink a bit, which is fine, because we're going to add 6 eggs to this recipe and a chopped onion. So while this is boiling, and again, we're going to bring this water to a boil twice, and after we bring it to a boil the first time, we're going to pour that water out and put in some new water, because we really do want to neutralize the very strong taste of burdock. Now, it can taste good, you know, when we combine it with these other ingredients and make a patty out of it, and we're gonna see how it tastes. But the thing is to get rid of the bitterness, and that's one of the things that onion does. Because it's a strong ingredient, it actually kind of helps when you have something that has a strong taste. So here we are. We have chopped it up. Got a pot of water. Yes, pot of water. We're going to put the chopped burdock leaves in the water, and we're going to put it on the stove and boil it a couple of times to make sure that we have gotten all the bitterness out. And then we'll add the other ingredients. So I want you, of course, to see this pot of burdock leaves. About to put it on the stove and let it boil.
Now, if you are willing to try something different, you'll discover that this is a very good taste. And you also can create something that, for those people who are willing to be a little adventurous, you can serve at your next gathering, because it really is a good tasting meal.
While our burdock leaves are boiling, or at least heating over the stove, we're gonna take our eggs and we're going to crack the eggs and mix them in this bowl so that we can have the basics of how this patty is going to be made.
Yes, you definitely you need some eggs to make a patty, to make patties. And if you're one of those that is looking forward to creating something that is easy to put together, if you've ever made hamburger patties, then you know it's easy to make a patty. So now, next,
So now we've chopped up the onion and we're going to add it to the egg batter, and that gives us something to stir in when we get ready to add the burdock leaves. Now, we want it to be nice and oniony, so we're going to add the other half of the onion, chop it up in nice fine pieces so that you can really taste that onion. The important thing is that we have something strong enough to kind of neutralize that very strong burdock taste. We want to taste the burdock, but we don't want it to be so overwhelming, and we definitely don't want the bitterness. So we're going to be boiling those burdock leaves twice. The water's come to one boil. We're going to pour that water out and then add another pot of water, boil it again, and then once we drain it, we'll add it to this mixture, which, as you can see, we've got chopped onions. Going to add some more.
yes, add some onions. Definitely a good flavor that you'll enjoy. And so we want you to add it up and mix it up.
And now we've got our egg and chopped onions. We're going to add the crushed crackers and stir that in. And we're going to add our seasonings. I want to make sure that it has a nice flavor. So give it enough seasoning to be able to taste it. Of course, we've got pepper, nice zing to it, and paprika. So now we've got enough flavoring to stir up in this mixture. And as you can see, it's got a nice consistency. And so the next thing is to stir in the burdock.
And of course, remember, these are the burdock leaves growing wild in your yard that didn't cost you anything at all because they are native plants, meaning plants that grow without any assistance.
So you've got to drain the water out and put some new water in and boil it all over again. So this bitter water is poured out. And then the next thing we want to do is add some more water. And then we're going to start this process all over again so that the burdock can boil up, and we'll drain it again and add it to our mix.
Yes, because burdock has a very, very strong flavor. And you do need to kind of neutralize that a bit with a second boiling. So now let's take a look at the next step. After you've boiled it up,
and now we're going to add the burdock leaves to the mixture for some carduni. Now we also put the same seasoning in the water in the second boil of the burdock leaves that we put into this mixture. But one ingredient we want to add is Italian seasoning. We want to make sure we add that because this is an Italian dish. So we're gonna sprinkle it in generously and stir it up. And this is what's going to fry in the pan. We've got our pan with the oil all set, and of course we want to make sure that we have nice sturdy patties that we're going to fry up in the pan. And here it is. And then we're going to top it off with some cheese. So get ready to see homemade from burdock leaves carduni.
here you are. So now you're ready for that next step. And this is where you see how easy it is to create a delicious meal.
Now here it is. We've turned our patty over and it looks a bit like It's like a pancake. So probably the other patties I'll make maybe a little bit smaller, maybe a little more like a burger, but definitely this looks good. So we're gonna let it keep on frying here in our gonna let it keep on frying in our skillet and our olive oil. And then we're gonna melt a little cheese on top. And we'll try it out. Here we are, cardoni, made with burdock leaves.
So now let's see what it tastes like after this added cheese. And what do we have?
All right, here we are. Cardoni. Add a little bit of ketchup just to give a little flavor, of course, you know. And remember, this was made with burdock leaves, growing free. So now let's see what it tastes like. Wow, this is scrumptious. Mmm, mmm, mmm. Mmm, 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 mmm. Oh, wow. Mmm, mmm, mmm. Woo! Let me tell you, if you see me wandering around in a vacant lot with a basket and some scissors, it's because I'm looking for some more burdock leaves to make another dish of cardoni. Woohoo! Unbelievable. This is so good. Oh my gosh. I will never look at burdock leaves the same again. Mmm, 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 mmm. Well, we give thanks to Mother Earth for giving this gift to us for free. We give thanks for the leaves and all the ingredients that went into this delicious meal. And we are so grateful to have discovered something this good. Carduni. You got to make this at home. This is fantastic. Like my sister Zelda says, this is the bomb.com. Mm, 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 mm. Try it. You'll love it. I guarantee it.
And there you have it. You know, it takes so little effort to try something that you may not have considered. Now, this was a recipe, as we said. Once we identified the burdock leaves, and then we, Googled, is it edible? And then we Googled recipes using burdock leaves, and we came up with this carduni recipe, which is basically burdock burgers, a burdock cheeseburger. And you can see that the ingredients you added, things you already have in your refrigerator. But just think, you can create something that's really good and edible. Your own veggie burger made out of leaves that if you had not known what they were, you would have sprayed them with pesticides because they didn't look like a blade of grass in your lawn. So, this is a plant we want you to honor and respect because not only are the roots used widely for medicinal teas, the leaves can be used to make a really good veggie burger. Cardoonie. Well, we're excited because we're going to be teaching you every Monday at 11. Just spend a few minutes with us to identify some of those plants that are growing free right in your own yard, or maybe in a neighbor's yard, or maybe in a vacant lot. But the whole idea is to recognize the value of what you have and how you can turn it into something really special. Every plant has a purpose. We need to discover what it is. And if we're calling it a weed, that means we have not discovered its purpose. We simply haven't taken the time to discover what it can do for us. So we invite you to go to the App Store and download the app. Picture this. There it is, right there, the plant identifier. Picture this. You'll see a little flower and like a little camera lens around it. And basically, once you download that, you'll be able to identify all the different plants that are growing around your property. And you'll be able to do a simple thing like Google and take a look at what it does. What is the plant used for? Is it medicinal? Is it edible? And are there recipes that you can find? That's all we did. So join us for part 3. We're going to share some more common plants, common native plants that we've been calling weeds because we don't know their purpose. And you might see these popping up. So before you get ready to do your spring lawn care, your gardening, your landscaping, we had a short visit with my landscaper today. And we'll be letting him know that we're not killing anything in this yard. We're going to use everything for food and medicine. And so can you. I'm Naima Latif. Join us next Monday for part 3 for Pandemic Farms. We're going to teach you how to grow your own food.